Hi everyone, I'm back for a follow-up. I finished my taper about 2 months ago, and I just kind of wanted to give some advice and just go over some things that maybe you can relate to. That I think in speaking with other people who have finished or are finishing their tapers, we have a lot in common. So just for those of you who don't know, I began not this spring, but the spring before last, so just over a year ago in March, is when I started trying to taper off of 2 milligrams of Ativan. And I tried to cut it by about an eighth of a milligram a week, and that did not work out well. And I I actually ended up doing it. I think I was cutting about an eighth of a milligram every 2 weeks because it was just so impossible. And then I ended up crossing over to Valium in the ER. I actually showed the ER doctor benzo.org.uk and convinced him to cross me over to an equivalent amount of Valium, and that I'm pretty sure that saved my life. I was just in the worst interdose acute withdrawal hell imaginable at that point. I couldn't do anything, couldn't take care of my kids. If you want to learn more about that story, you can watch my first video. Um, so after I crossed over to Valium, I spent about a month stabilizing out as much as I could possibly stabilize out on 13 milligrams of Valium. And then I began to do liquid titration using water. And so like I said, I spent about a year doing that taper. I jumped off at 0.25 milligrams. And here I am 2 months later. I keep waiting for a good time to make this video, but there really hasn't been a good time. Um, so initially what happened, and it makes a lot of sense, even people who get off benzos too quickly, I've noticed there's a pattern. You get kind of this high for a couple of weeks, and I definitely had that high. Not that I was feeling super, but I was feeling pretty good, and then it kind of hits you at about 4 weeks. But mine was a little more complicated because I I took some progesterone, and with all the advice that I've given people and everything, I don't know how I missed that progesterone is a GABA antagonist. But I did, and so I took some, and I felt really great for about 2 days. I thought, wow, maybe this threw off my progesterone, and I was low on progesterone, and I need to start treatment. So I started looking into doing some kind of natural hormone replacement therapy, and then I crashed. After that, a couple days later, I crashed hard, and I was in bed for about a week. I wasn't able to do a whole lot. It was really, really bad. All the mental, all the physical just came crashing through, and then I've been recuperating this week from that, but I've been getting better. And even with that, I've noticed a lot of improvements, and a lot of changes. Not major changes, but initially I just noticed that a lot of the mental and emotional stuff cleared up. Um, the physical got worse initially, like right off the bat. I was still in a lot of pain, and yeah, so that remained the same or worse. I noticed that I felt a lot more spiritually connected. I felt extremely disconnected the entire year. It was really troubling and upsetting. I know a lot of people who are in, religious support groups and things. They complain of the same thing. You feel really spiritually disconnected, and almost immediately after getting off, I did feel that connect again. So that was good. But then when I took the progesterone, that disconnect came back, and now I seem to be getting my spirituality back. And some other things that I've noticed that I've had in common with other people are that the eye pain. I've had a lot of eye pain. Took off my sunglasses for you people, but I've been walking around with sunglasses 24/7, which really helps. So it's nice to have that option, I guess, as opposed to some of our other symptoms that aren't as easily taken care of. Face pain, weird face sensations, or kind of a neuralgia, I guess. I've been noticing I was getting really bad boils and on my face, and those got so bad, and I didn't know why. And then I found out again, just kind of after the fact, that I had been doing acupuncture regularly, and acupuncture, and I'm assuming other kinds of natural treatments, can cause something called a healing crisis, which is, it's kind of like detoxing, I think. And so every time I would go in to acupuncture, it would just cause this healing crisis, and I kept getting more and more boils to the point where my face is actually scarred and still healing from that scarring. I really loved what the acupuncturist did for me when my symptoms just became overwhelming and unbearable. And I'm not saying don't do any alternative therapies, don't do acupuncture, but I am saying all things in moderation throughout this, because we are so sensitive that anything that can go wrong is probably going to go wrong. My dad's a chiropractor. I'm a big fan of chiropractic, but I noticed early on with this that I could not go into chiropractic regularly. I had to really just limit it to only going in when I was really bad, when something was really out and it was unbearable and I needed it taken care of. Same thing with massage. It just seems to exacerbate and create more inflammation. And so if you're looking into trying anything, any kind of a supplement, first off, Google whatever you're going to take and GABA. Just take that precaution. It is not worth it to set yourself back. This has really taught me a lot about how this really is due to GABA down regulation, or GABA receptor down regulation. Professor Ashton was right, because I felt really good taking progesterone, which is a GABA antagonist, and then I crashed and it sent me into a bad wave. And again, any treatment or therapies that you're thinking of doing, really journal or just be aware of any symptoms that you may have that may pop up that are new or that are aggravated. We just have such a tendency to blame everything on benzo withdrawals, and that's not always the case. So, be careful there. But my kids are in school now, and I've really been able to see how much healing has taken place over the summer since the last school year. Because last year, my daughter wasn't in school yet, but I had neighbors and friends who would help watch her in the afternoon for me, so I could lay down each afternoon before my son came home from school. And I would lay down every single afternoon. Some afternoons I would barely make it to lunch and getting her off to her friends or whatever. So, sometimes I really didn't make it, to be honest. But I'm finding this year, when I'm not in a bad wave, and I'm sure there will be more, I've got another at least good year of healing ahead of me. But I'm able to drop my daughter off at kindergarten. I'm able to go and maybe run an errand or two and then come home. And I don't have to lay down. I can do other things. I just have to take it easy. I find that socializing is all of a sudden much easier for me. I thought that would be one of those things that really wouldn't get better until my other symptoms improve, because just trying to talk to people would just make my head spin. It would just, and see, I'm actually getting these symptoms now trying to look at this computer screen. But being outside and talking to people it's just suddenly become so easy for me. And even though I still have other symptoms going on, so I'm really, really grateful for that. And there was so much advice that I wanted to give everybody with this, because one important thing, I think, for anybody who is still tapering, to understand, if you're doing micro tapering, it works. That's definitely something that I've learned after finishing, is micro tapering works. When I got off, there wasn't a whole lot that changed. I was the same, and that was kind of anticlimactic. It was like, oh, I just worked really hard this whole year and I'm exactly the same. But that's actually a good sign because that means that the taper worked. Because if I had gotten off even a quarter of a milligram sooner or a milligram earlier, I would not have been okay. I would not have been stable. So micro tapering definitely worked. And one thing that kind of hit me hard is that my symptoms were not due to tapering. They weren't. Initially, trying to get off, sort of, I don't know if it shocks your body into this syndrome or something, but initially, yes, the inner dose and all of that, it was because of trying to get off the drug. But after stabilizing and beginning my taper, all of my symptoms were really due to GABA receptor downregulation, to the syndrome that we have. Some people call it dysautonomia, which is a good term or a good diagnosis to use if you want to help your doctor understand, or if you need a diagnosis code. It is fairly inclusive of most of our symptoms, not the mental, but the physical. It's a good way of describing it. But it really is due to GABA receptor downregulation. I know that now for sure after I've learned through making mistakes. And hopefully, you know, me making all the mistakes will help you guys to not have to make those same mistakes. You can learn from my mistakes. Because I was the picture of health. I really was a picture of perfect health before this. I had had 3 babies. I was fit. If anything, I was almost close to underweight. Not that I was super skinny. I was just very fit, and I did have, I had a lot of muscle. And I went from being, and my skin was clear. I had great hair. It was just, I was a picture of perfect health. And then after 1 week on Ambien, I changed from being that to hair falling out and boils, and I can't read, and I can't do math, and I'm in horrible pain, and I can't walk around the block, and I can't eat foods, and I'm malnourished, and I'm bloated, and I'm swollen all the time. And just the complete opposite end of the spectrum is what I've gone to. So I have a long way to go. I'd say I'm about 50% healed. My sleep my sleep became really erratic after getting off. Super erratic, but that seems to have stabilized out. I'm getting about 6.5 hours of sleep now, which for me, I would get at least 7.5 or 8 before all of this. So we'll see if I ever go back to that. I hope so. But anyway, I just wanted to give you guys some hope. It does get better. It gets better, and I'm really hopeful now that it will continue to get better. Don't get discouraged if you get hit by a massive wave. It's really common, especially after that first month mark. All right. And I just wanted to let you all know, thank you. First of all, thank you so much for those of you who have commented and sent me messages saying how my videos have helped you or my stories helped you. Not only has it made it worth it for me, but it's made it worth it for my husband, because the times where I have done well or been in a slightly good window, he wants me to spend it with him and the kids, and I would take that time out to make these videos or to edit these videos or to respond to people. And it was hard enough for him having a wife who was, so disabled all the time, but then to have me spending what little good time I did have on these was kind of hard. And I got a message from somebody the other day who said that my benzo bullied video, that she watched it and it was the first time that she realized that she wasn't crazy. And I've had people just, say the kindest things. Really, all the response has just been so positive, almost all of it. So thank you so much for that. It really does make it worth it. And I just want you to know I'm going to start telling other people's stories. I'm trying to get my app to work on Skype. I haven't been able to get it to work. But hopefully I'll be able to start getting you other people's stories, people who are incredible people and who have suffered and to an incredible degree, all because of benzodiazepines. So I hope to be bringing you those sometime in the near future. And oh, also, maybe this needs to be another video, but I was involved in a documentary recently. It's with Holly Hardman. She's a director making a documentary about benzodiazepines and people like us who have suffered from it. I'm really excited about that. I'll post a link to her blog below, and I really encourage anybody who is going through this, or anybody who's helping someone go through this, or who's been made aware of this, to please encourage and support this documentary. I think it's going to be pivotal in changing, you know, how the public looks at us, in bringing awareness to this. And yeah, sorry, I'm still dealing with benzo brain, but I think it's important, and I think she's incredibly brave for taking on the largest oligopoly to ever exist, one of the largest to ever exist on this earth. I mean, if you think big tobacco is big, big pharma, trying to speak out against big pharma is just insane. If you're interested in joining any activism efforts or legal efforts, please join our group, Benzodiazepine Awareness and Legal Action, or BALA. We're working on that still to change the face of benzodiazepine awareness, and how they're prescribed, and how people are warned in the US. All right, so hang in there, everybody, and keep healing.